1, 2, 3, 4. We are five girls separated by geography. We've never met in person, but it's like we're family. Girl stuff is our thoughts and feelings that we want to share with you. So listen as we spill the tea. Drop the mic and do what we do.
Hey, I'm Hannah.
I'm Ella.
I'm Mel.
I'm Taylor.
I'm DAYA.
And I'm TORI, caro.
And welcome to this very special episode of Girl Stuff. As you can see, today we are joined by a very special guest, the amazing, wonderful, talented TORI, caro. I know we've said this a lot on our show. We say this like every single episode, but the five of us would not have met if it wasn't for Julie and the Phantoms, which obviously TORI has played a very integral role in. So I feel like in a lot of ways, we kind of have TORI as one of the many people to thank for the five of us being together and like starting this podcast. So thank you so much for being here, TORI.
Of course.
Yeah. And so for this episode, we're gonna talk all about her life and career as a dancer and choreographer, as well as her overall experiences, being a young woman working professionally in the entertainment industry, because as we know, it's one of the toughest industries out there. And of course, talk all about her experience with Julie and the Phantoms, and then wrap it up with some fun questions that our listeners actually helped curate some of those, and then just wrap it up with what we can expect from you in the future and in 2021 and beyond. So without further ado, why don't you go ahead and take it away, Mel? Go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna start with a little introduction round for people who don't know you. You worked on many different shows and as a dancer and a choreographer. And our first question is, how did you discover your passion for dance?
Well, I began dancing when I was 3 years old, mostly because my mom would put on these movies, the Barbie princess movies. I don't even remember the names of them, but with the pink and blue dress, and I would put on my dresses and spin around the living room, break a lot of things. But my mom was like, okay, we'll put you in a dance class so that you can have some structure. My parents always wanted to keep me busy growing up. They thought it was going to be sports because they always played sports. But my parents wanted to just make sure I was able to do many things and try things that they didn't get to try. So they put me in dance, and I fell in love with storytelling and performing and with it.
That's incredible. The way your parents saw you break stuff and were like, oh, we're putting her into dance. What is it about dance that drew you into dance besides breaking stuff?
I mean, just growing up watching things like High School Musical and different TV shows and movies and all of the music videos, Britney was a big inspiration for me. I didn't know that I loved dance for a really long time. I kind of would just copy what I saw on TV, and I would get into dance class and I'd be like, okay, this is fun, I guess. This is something I'm doing with my time. I never thought that I was going to be a choreographer or a professional dancer. People would ask, who do you want to dance for? And of course, I had people that I wanted to, like Brittany and Janet and just icons growing up, but I was never the person that would be like, oh, I want to go on this specific tour, do this, this, and that. And I always kind of felt left out about it until I found out about dance and choreography in the film and TV world. And what really drew me in and made me love it was the storytelling and performing aspect of it.
Okay, you mentioned choreography. What inspired your interest into choreography besides the storytelling aspect of it?
Well, I didn't even know it was a thing until one of my mentors, who was like, hey, you want to assist me for my convention? I was like, sure. At that point, I had been assisting choreographers like Brian Friedman, Cassandra Chavez, Tice Diorio, Chaz Buzan. And he was like, you want to assist me at mine? It's Canadian. And I was like, sure, why not? I've never been to Canada. Cool. And then he was like, oh, hey, do you want to assist me for this job that I'm doing? And it was a Toyota commercial. And I was like, sure, cool. I'll shadow you. I mean, I'm always down to try new things. And I was there for the whole creative process, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." I never knew you could, not never knew that you could, but I always thought you got into choreography as a teacher first, and then you get asked to do this because people saw your classes. But choreographing for TV and film and even commercials is so different because you're given kind of a prompt, which is the script or the thing that you're trying to sell or something like that, and then you mold it around either the product or the story. And so I was like, "Oh, this is different. This is really cool." And then my mentor had a family emergency, so he was like, "Can you cover for me?" I was like, I'm 15. I don't know." Like, are they gonna even listen? Like, do they even know who I am? But like I said, I'm always down to try new things. I always jump in head first to everything. So I did it. And then I realized that being a part of the choreography team or being behind the camera as a creative, you are able to not control, but shape the narrative of the story through the media that you put out, whether it's the writing or the directing or the choreography. And with choreography, it's kind of all three. The definition of choreography is dance writing. And so as a choreographer, what people don't realize is that you're writing the steps and then you're directing your dancers, telling them how to move, where to move, what they should be feeling, and then obviously you're doing the part of it. But I just fell in love with the way that you can control the narrative of the story through dance.
I feel like choreography is something that requires like a large amount of assertiveness and being like the leader in a group. That's something that kind of always came naturally to you growing up. Were you all did you always like kind of having the boss pants on and like telling people what to do, or is that something that you had to really push to learn how to do?
Um, I was never really the bossy one. My sister always was. She's 5 years younger than me. It's so funny. We always talk about how, like, she acts like the oldest and I act like the youngest, kinda just not that I, like, go with the flow, but I don't like conflict, and I'm okay with compromising with people, but it's so funny because in my choreography pants or whatever, it comes naturally to,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess growing up, I was always helping with competition pieces, so I'd always tell, like, the people dancing whenever I would clean the numbers and, like, make them look all uniform and stuff, I would be able to be assertive in that way, but so I guess it kind of came naturally when I'm
That's awesome.
choreographing and I know how to stand my ground and stuff,
Mhm.
um, but in real life, I'm like, I mean, you
Wow.
can do whatever you want, not whatever, let me be clear. I know what I want, but I'm never
Yeah.
someone that's like, "It has to be my way or the highway," and
Mhm.
I think that's also an important part of choreography and directing and being in that leadership position, and that's what I love about Kenny, because, yes, he stands his ground and everything because he knows what he's talking about and he has a big feeling for things, but he listens to the people around him and gets all of these different perspectives so that he can make a clear choice and understand that this is the exact best choice just based on the full story rather than just his narrative.
Yeah, and something I've always admired about like what I've seen like of Kenny working is that he always seems to lead by example and he's super collaborative. And so I'm sure you can like speak on that too, but that's something that I always admired about like the way that he works.
Yeah, and it's crazy because going into this was my first not real job with Kenny. I had worked with him 2 times prior. I always forget that I worked with him on Dancing with the Stars, but it wasn't it wasn't as hands-on, and then the other job that I had done with him, I had auditioned and booked the job, but the Julie and the Phantoms and The Wynn Hotel were kind of happening at the same time, so I can't really say which was first.
Mhm.
Um, but I was expecting him, Kenny, this big movie director. He's done all these things. He knows what he's talking about. Like, he's going to be very much the typical director that you hear about in Hollywood, demanding these things, making sure that he gets whatever he wants, this, and that. And then you get on set or in rehearsal with him, and he sees everybody. He truly sees everybody. And what I mean by that is, like, he'll ask you about your day and just be like, oh, well, that's good, and like really care about it. And then be like, hey, what do you think about this move? Or what do you think about this part in the story, and pushing dance through it? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? But he really genuinely cares because he wants to know how, I don't know. I just I think
I
it's so
love
cool.
that so much.
I think one of my favorite videos, because I went in a rabbit hole of Paul Becker's like BTS videos the other day. Every day, it's fine. It's
as
fine.
one does.
It's
As
fine.
one does.
But it
Oh,
was
okay.
I got the music behind the scene in the studio room, and I like watching him actually do the moves rather than just like, okay, you do it kind of thing, or even like the behind the band episodes when he was in the studio singing, like trying to get Maddie or Charlie to like sing the way he kind of envisions it, but he's showing it. Like, to me, I was like, that's incredible, and I mean, it's Kenny Ortega. Everyone loves Kenny Ortega.
And that's what I love about him. Like, he's 70 years old and still getting in the studio, and there's choreographers and directors that have this vision but haven't necessarily gone and stood in the actor's shoes or the dancer's shoes and expect these things from dancers or actors or any of their crew. And I mean, I get it, because yes, that could be really, really cool. And I'm sure there's people out there that can do it, but they demand it in a way of, I need you to do this, but haven't tried it themselves.
Mhm.
But what Kenny does, I mean, he was a dancer, choreographer. He went through all of these different steps and stood in their shoes and knows what it takes to be these people. And so every chance he gets, he's making sure that he can even do it before he demands it of us. And not that he demands it, but like asks us of it. You know?
Inspires you guys to do it.
Exactly. And I just think it comes from such a place of empathy, and that's what makes him so special and makes all of his work so special, because he knows what it takes. And I think that's why he's so sweet to everybody and make sure he sees everybody, because he knows what it feels like to be not told what to do, but
to be on the receiving end of the instructions.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hannah's gonna start talking about the journey of you as a female in the 21st century now. So I'm gonna give the mic over to Hannah.
Heck yeah.
All right. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask, like, you were both a dancer and choreographer on the show. Was it hard to kind of mentally switch from that, or was it a very natural kind of, like mental, there's a switch, and was it easy? Was it hard? Like, tell us a little bit about that side of things of the show.
I've been dancing for so long that this switch is kind of almost
Second nature.
Yeah. It was difficult trying to jump between authority position and dance and make sure that I was focused the whole time. Because I get in these like, when you're a dancer, you want to make sure, yes, you're focused on getting the job done, but at a certain point you have to have so much fun with it, or else it gets stagnant and then it shows on camera. So you're having to have all this fun and make sure that you're keeping your spirits up and everybody else's spirits up while you're filming for 12 hours a day, doing these hard steps in these hard shoes on this hard floor, sometimes squeezing in the frame. Like, it's kind of hard. You have to make sure that you're like exuding joy so that
Yeah.
people on the receiving end later on when they're watching it get that.
Mhm.
And being a choreographer, you don't always have the luxury to be happy and light all the time because, like you said earlier, you have to have this authority position. And so trying to switch back and forth and make sure the job gets done and also you're having fun, it's difficult being in both shoes because as a dancer, you're yes, you have to be focused and professional and everything, but your focus is being light and lightening everybody else. Yes, that's the job of the choreographer as well, so that your dancers are giving the best performance and also happy and safe and everything. But with that comes a lot of responsibility, so you kind of have to crack the whip a little bit. So that was the hardest part. But it was like running around with my head chopped off.
Yeah, and you've mentioned, that you started at a very young age. You got your first gig of choreographing on your own, and as someone who was very young at the time, I mean, you said 15 uh, earlier. How hard
15
did
or
it?
16, honestly, I can't remember.
A teen. You were a teen. We'll just say that.
A
Um,
youth.
a youth, exactly. How did it feel to have to be, in the front for like position of like directing as a young woman? Like we're always told, you're a girl, you need to speak up for yourself because you're a female, no one's gonna listen to you. And it's kind of engraved in our brain that we kind of need to be on the back end of things. But you had to be on the front and it was very spontaneous. How did that kind of feel for you? And did that shape how you do things now, that you're doing a lot more choreography and dancing at the same time?
I would have to say, luckily, I grew up with a very strong female example, which was my mom.
Mhm.
Um, it was always so contradicting because I'm Asian and I grew up having to be super respectful and obedient
Mhm.
and kind of, yes, mom will do that. Yes, mom will do that. Um, but at the same time, she has made a name for herself in her career and was always in authority positions. So she taught me and my sister how to stand our ground and make sure we get what we need at the same time as compromising
Yeah.
and being respectful. So I feel like it came pretty naturally to me at that job. Luckily, they also didn't know my actual age. So they came in thinking I was this older person who knows what she's doing. And, I put on my acting skills. You got to fake it till you make it.
And you made
So,
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
I mean, we're working on it. We're working on it.
And
uh,
I really applaud you for like never letting either, whether it be your age or the fact that you're a girl or the fact that you're an Asian woman, like you've never let any of those things stop you, and that you've never you let those things empower you as opposed to let others like define you by it. So I mean, this is me just hyping you up, but it's like it's a really big inspiration to me. I mean, you're like 4 years younger than me, and I'm like, here I am, big fan of you. So.
well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had my fair share of mansplaining and is age-splaining a thing? Like,
Oh,
I
Yeah,
don't
for
it
know.
is. Oh,
sure.
yes.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
I've had my fair share of that, but I mean, I have things that ground me. Well, now I have things. I used to get so mad and so annoyed and frustrated thinking, okay, just because they're a guy, they can explain to me like this. I've done more than they've not I've done more than they've done, but like I have a capable understanding of all of this. I have stuff to back me up. I don't know why you're trying to explain this to me, or people who are older than me saying, "Oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that." Like I've done you don't even know me. I don't know why you're trying to explain it to me like this. But I've also realized that I am still pretty new to this, even though I have stuff to back me up and I have a good understanding and I have good instinct for it. There's also so much to learn.
Mhm.
And even though it's not being explained to me in the nicest way, there aren't always going to be nice people like Kenny to explain when you want explanation. Yeah, they might not be necessarily helping or in the mindset of helping, and maybe they are degrading me, whatever, but everything is a learning experience, and having that in mind definitely grounds me in my space, and it also like humbles me so I don't get too big of a head, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
But yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's hard to just wrap our head. I mean, I've said it multiple times. We live in a very male-dominated
Society.
world. There you go. Yeah. And like everywhere you go, you'll have someone tell you, you know, you're not doing this right, or, you know, maybe you could do this instead. And I'm like, let me do it the way I want to do it first. If it doesn't work, then we'll kind of figure it out. But in your experience, like what was the one thing that you've learned from having those experiences with, you know, ageism or um misogyny or like whatever it is that or mansplaining, like all like what was one thing you've learned that you would wish, you know, kids who are wanting to go into this field that they would know themselves?
And that's such a big question because I've learned just so much about just in my very, very little time of working in these positions and
Mhm.
being a woman in these quote unquote power positions. I've realized, I mean, I guess this isn't the most important thing that I've learned, but something that I've realized is that it's not always males or older people that are pushing back and giving you this resistance and making you feel like you're not capable. Um, it's such a competitive world and industry, and I've noticed that sometimes females see it as such a competitive world that there's only so many female spots that can be chosen, so it should be them, not me, or whatever. And I mean, I get it, but also why can't we just build each other up and make more positions for women? I
Mhm.
get that right now it's a male dominant thing and they may only hire one woman for this one job because they either have to or want to feel diverse or whatever. But it doesn't have to be that way. And if women spent more time supporting other women, there would be more positions because people would see that we're actually qualified, you know, rather than sabotaging or making other women feel bad for trying.
Mhm.
And we always talk about male pride and everything, but girls have it too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so
Period.
I've
Go
learned that
on.
you have to treat people as people and see the human traits in everyone and see that everybody's trying. And you know what I've realized is that it's not a competition,
Mhm.
no matter how much it seems like it's a competition and you're all gunning for the same spot. What's meant for you is meant for you, and all you can do is back up your kind of asking of being part of this position with your training and with your experience and what you can offer to the table. And the only competition is with yourself. I compare myself every day to people and I get frustrated being like, why am I not at this place? Or I'm at the same age as this person. Why don't I have this, and that?
Mhm.
But you have to keep reminding yourself like you're on your own path. Way easier said than done, but it everything happens for a reason. And I've had my fair share of those experiences and things that I wish I got and got mad about that I didn't get. And then realizing, oh, I wouldn't have gotten Julie and the Phantoms if I had gotten this,
Yeah.
or I wouldn't have met this person if I had gotten this. So
Mhm.
just realizing what's meant for you is meant for you.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely hard when social media is all about like, look at what I'm doing, and look what I get to do. And I mean, for me, I turned 25 in a couple months and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But at the same time, I'm like, but I'm still happy and I'm got this cool podcast with some cool friends and a cool show that I just
Right.
keep binging for no reason, but it's fine,
As you should, as you should.
As you should, as you should. Tell your friends.
Oh, I have gotten messages from my friends lately. I've watched the show
So
because
funny.
you can't stop talking about it. I'm like, that's what you should be doing. You should
Every
be
day, Hannah
As
sends a
you
new
should.
screenshot of someone having texted her, being like, "I watched the show because of you. Thanks a lot. I'm crying now."
I love it. I love it so much. I love it. Or at least for me, what works for me is when I feel down about all of that and thinking that I'm behind, and I mean, in some aspects I'm not. I realize my age and what I've accomplished, and I'm very proud of myself for that. But with things like acting, I feel like I'm very, very behind because I'm surrounded by people who have been doing this all their lives, like I have with dance, or I've been surrounded by people who have been songwriting all their lives, and I feel behind, or directing or writing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've found, especially in this past year, that I have to be grounded in, Kenny calls it his, I mess this up every time. Every time. I don't speak French, but reason for being.
Oh, la raison
Say-
d'être.
Okay.
Yes, his raisin bread. Yes.
Not the raisin bread.
So proud.
Raisin bread. But if you ground yourself in your reason for being and the reason why you're doing this,
Mhm.
then all of that competition falls away because you're focused on what you want, the message you want to put out, rather than the content that you're putting out. And for me, that's spreading joy and light within people, and not saying that I'm playing God and being like, oh, I makes everybody so happy. I'm just this ray of sunshine. No, not that. Just the intention that you put out really goes and speaks through your work. And then it's not about, oh, I got this award, I got that award, or this many people streamed my that, or
Mhm.
I reached this many people. Yes, of course, you want to reach people so that you get your message out. But if you're grounded in that message, all of that competition doesn't matter.
And I mean, like the one thing I love about your account is you're always kind of posting these like motivational quotes and posts, and it like it's always relevant to what's happening in my life. And I'm like, how does she know?
Girl, you know why? Because I'm going through it, and I need myself. I'm going through it too. I need these words of motivation. So I'm gonna share it with you guys because I'm sure somebody else needs it too. I'm going through it.
Oh, definitely. And that's the thing, right? Is we don't actually know what someone's going through because social media is very much of like, I'm happy, I'm succeeding, I'm doing everything in my ability to be good, but no one actually shows the negatives that they're going through or like the cons of whatever situation they're in. So
Yeah.
I love your motivational little keep them coming because they make me happy.
Thank you.
They
I
help us a
need to
lot.
let people know that I'm going through it too. And
Yeah.
like you said, there's this facade that everybody's happy. And obviously you're not going to show your bad days, but everybody has them. No
Yeah.
matter if you're freaking Beyonce or if, so I feel like sharing that stuff and making sure people know that you're human, just like everybody else is human, creates more empathy for people.
Mhm.
And I mean, I talk about this freaking link all the time, but there's a link in my bio. Link in my bio, guys. There's a link in my bio that talks about the danger of a single story. And if you just listen to it, you just realize that there's so many sides to a story that you don't even know. And when people are being negative towards other people, or like even towards yourself, there's so many things that you don't know, and if you just knew, it wouldn't be a problem, if that makes sense. I don't know, that was completely rambling.
No,
No,
it's beautiful.
I watched that video because when I started following you, I was like, oh, what's this? And I saw the whole thing and I absolutely loved it. And I totally agree with what you're saying. So
And
thank you.
that's something that also has helped ground me, because with social media, like you were saying, everybody seems so happy, they're doing this, this, and that. They're achieving all these goals that you're not. And then you listen to that audio or her speech, and you're like, oh, well, there could be so many other things happening that you just don't know about. And maybe they feel the same way as I am right now. And then you're like, okay, I don't feel so bad. But honestly, I didn't notice it until, this quarantine. I've been posting whatever, and I talk to people and we catch up, the Corona catch up, like, hey, what are you doing? How's COVID treating you? It's a struggle, but it's fine. But people have come up to me and been like, oh, you've been consistently working since last year. And I'm like, where do you see that? I've been sitting in my house doing not doing nothing. Don't get me wrong, I haven't been doing nothing. But I've been sitting in my house. I haven't stepped on a set since Julie and the Phantoms. Where do you see that? And they're like, oh, well, I see you posting about this, and that. And I'm like, yeah, no, that was because I was going through my camera roll, having nothing to do and having nothing to post. Let's be real. So people have these preconceived notions about you, and you have to realize that you also have preconceived notions of them. And so what you see isn't always what's true.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Julie and the Phantoms, it's great because it's just a community that's extended beyond just, I've binged shows all the time, Vampire Diaries, One Tree Hill, I binge them, but I've never thought a Netflix show is gonna bring me so much more than just some tears in episode 8 and 9, because
okay, I might sound crazy because I've mentioned Reason for Being so many times, but I just feel like that speaks to how well Kenny's Reason for Being comes out through his work, because it's the same with High School Musical. You can go over to anybody and be like, we're all amazing. And it's this community that brings us all together. I don't know. And same with Descendants stuff. I personally haven't watched a lot of Descendants, but I hear stories about their fandoms and how it's brought them together and stuff like that. And I just feel like it's something with all Kenny projects, and I think it's insane and amazing.
Yeah, there's a running joke in the fandom that Kenny has a lab where he makes his lead men because they all look the same.
Kenny has an eye for people. I don't know, even the story about how Maddie got hired. He has this knack and instinct for seeing potential in people that nobody would even imagine. And maybe that's why he gets such great results with these people, because nobody else sees it. But I also think it has to do with the way that he empowers people in the workplace at the same time, because some directors just put you in front of the camera and be like, okay, you either give it to me or you don't. And they'll say a couple words to inspire you or whatever, or get the emotion that they need out of you. But with Kenny, it's a full experience, and he puts his whole life into you and makes you feel like you really can. And it's the littlest thing to be like, oh, I believe that you can do this. But the way that he inspires you, it's really, you can't explain it. I don't know if I haven't watched not any of them, but I haven't watched a lot of the behind the scenes from the show. But I don't know if you can see that through the camera.
It's palpable to me as like an audience member, like the way that he has conversations like so intimately with the people around him and the people on set. And one of my favorite Instagram posts that you did, I don't remember when, but it was like 10 things that I learned from Kenny Ortega or something like that. Like I remember reading that and I got like emotional because it's really it is palpable and it's very clear like the impact that and the effort that he puts into making his projects like impactful and profound, you know.
Yeah. And the funny thing is about that, yeah, I wrote that in February because he gave that journal to me for my birthday. But throughout the show, I mean, this is just me, I'm exposing myself. I like write down from each person that I meet, like what I've learned from them and what I admire and want to integrate in my life. And I mean, like everybody has such a long list, but Kenny's by far is definitely the longest. I mean, there's so much to learn from him. He's lived through so much and experienced so much, and also just shares so much, which is incredible because again, this is such a competitive world, and you would think that people don't want to share these secrets or things that have helped them, but every moment with Kenny is a teaching moment, whether he knows it or not. And he's not afraid to share these things with you and not afraid to rise tides so that the whole entire project can be up here rather than, oh, I know all these things, but I don't want to tell you because you might be better than me one day. It's insane. But long story short, those 10 things were like already in my phone, and honestly, if you just look through that, you'll cry because he's just incredible and he's literally magic, this man.
Well, I mean, everything he touches, honestly, like you said, you can go to anyone and be like, we gotta work, and they'll know exactly what to do.
Man doesn't miss.
He
Does
knows.
not miss.
Exactly.
Is there any kind of like imprint that you would say that they like left on you, either like personally or professionally? Was there like something that they like left on you?
The biggest imprint that Phantoms put on me was showing me what's possible and really allowing me to visualize my life and my future before me. I've always had an idea of what I wanted to do and these like checklists, whatever, but the show showed me, like physically showed me that what I want to do is very much possible. And the people that I want to surround myself with are there. And there are people like that, because I was kind of losing hope with feeling misunderstood and constantly like trying to explain to people that it's not that I don't love them, and I do, but I have things that I want to get done. And I grew up with a dad who was stationed in different places all the time, but never missed a performance, like even if it was over the phone, never missed a birthday, never missed calling me every day. So I know that people can love from a distance, and that's my personality. Like my best friend growing up, she's one person that knows that I love her so much and that I support her in whatever she's doing, but I don't have to talk to her every single day. I talk to her maybe like once a month sometimes, just because schedules don't line up, whatever, but she understands. I was losing hope that maybe something was wrong with me and like I needed to change how I worked, which, I mean, always there's compromise in any relationship, whether it's friends or whatever, but I was losing hope in my confidence that I needed to be how I was, if that makes sense. and making me feel bad for having these ambitions. And then on top of that, everybody always making girls feel bad for their ambitions, you know? It was really getting me down. But this show has showed me that there are other people like me. And not that I want to surround with myself with people that are like me because I like me so much, but it's just a nice confirmation and feeling of belonging, both professionally and personally.
Since we still don't know if we're gonna get a season 2, which is the reason we all cry ourselves to sleep, if there is a potential season 2, what are you like most excited about for it? Like, what do you want to like happen?
I'm most excited for the open-ended possibilities with the show and with what's to come with it and the people that it brings on. And I'm really just looking forward to being back in the company of my friends and mentors and being in this creative space where we're all working on the same thing, but also nurturing our other passions at the same time. I talk about how lucky I was to be involved in every single aspect of the set. And I'm looking forward to diving into that even more because, yeah, first season, I was able to do everything and see, but with 2020, I had the opportunity to learn more about these things rather than kind of just like jumping in and not pretending that I knew about these things, because I sat and watched other sets, but being able to know more about these things so I can learn even more. I'm excited for that because you don't get to do that a lot with sets, even as an actor or a choreographer. Like I said, you come into the set, you're an alien, or even if you're a lead role, like not a lot of sets are open to having conversations with you while they're working, and you know, it's so focused on this. But with Phantoms, I'd go over to John Joffin and be like, hey, why are you using this lighting? This, like, what's your reason for this? And if he had time, he'd explain it. And if not, he'd come to me at lunch and be like, hey, so I did this, this, and that because of this, this, and that. Or asking Dan and Dave questions about like, oh, so I noticed that you put this in the storyline. Why? And what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? I don't know. I'm looking forward to learning more and experiencing all of that again.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question that might break you, but it's fine. I've already broken you out too much today.
Good.
Okay. So it's still Jewel and the Phantoms related, but if Kayla was to become a Phantom, what do you think her unfinished business could be? We're giving Kayla her own story right now.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Like, I gotta think about that one.
I mean, I don't know much about Kayla because originally it was just supposed to be that line, the wait, were those holograms? One of the students. And I mean, Kayla wasn't an actual character. But I guess, okay, it's one of two things. She's been best friends with Carrie her whole life and understands Carrie and the way that she conducts her business. So she understands when Carrie's lashing out, it's not because she's a mean person or she's just like, Carrie just works so hard at what she does, and Kayla knows that. And for other people to dislike her or not understand her is really hard for her. So I feel like talking about unfinished business, I guess it would to get people to understand Carrie, because it was funny, that scene where Nick goes, that was kind of rude, or that was kind of mean, don't you think we should go to class or whatever? Kayla's there sitting, listening by and being like, ooh, what's the tea? But then at the end, like it got cut. But Carrie storms off, and then Kayla comes in and like tries to console her, and like Carrie slaps her away. But I feel like she just wants her friend to be understood and loved the way that Kayla loves her. But then again, my unfinished business could also be we made up this thing, Sav and I. We were like, what if Kayla wanted to, sing with Carrie or dance and choreograph and stuff? And Carrie just shot it down all the time, like, because she's the star, this and that. So maybe Kayla has some sort of solo career. I don't know. But at least like contribute more rather than being a little minion.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all would be like happy with a spin-off show that's called Dirty Candy. I'm all for that.
Let me tell you, I sent Dan and Dave Melina's stickers of Carrie and Kayla, and they texted me back saying, so I'm assuming you guys want a spin-off now? And I was like, I wouldn't be mad.
Possibility.
I'd watch that.
I get you have other priorities right now, but I wouldn't be mad at it. I could also help you write it, it's fine.
Exactly. It's doable.
If you need a designer for it,
Hit up your girl.
Right.
hit me
Right.
up.
Sticker on there.
We'll be there for moral support.
Yes, love it.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
one other question would be, so there were two specific scenes where you guys were like, you had to kind of be with the boys when they were just phantoms, and you kind of had to pretend like they weren't there. How hard was that to kind of just ignore them, especially knowing from the behind the scenes how like crazy they can get and goofy they can get?
Spill the tea. Spill the tea.
Oh my goodness, it was the hardest thing in the entire world. And I'm gonna be real, that was my first acting credit, where it was predominantly acting and not just like, oh, you're gonna act in this scene because you're the dancer in this, whatever. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, I'm like really bad at this, or I'm the most unprofessional actor ever because I cannot stop laughing. It is so, like, obviously I would do it for the job and be like put together, but as soon as they yell cut, like Sav and I were laughing our butts off. It was the hardest thing in the whole entire world. And I only had one scene with them, like, or one scene in general, really. But I talked to Sav about it after, and she goes, yeah, no, that was like the hardest thing that I've ever had, ever. And especially with the boys, they would make little comments, and it's not just the writing and the show that makes them funny. They're really funny in real life. And so hearing them say these little comments and they're not even on camera, and they're not even mic'd or anything. So the camera's just on me and Savannah. And we hear these little things, and we're trying so hard not to pee our pants laughing. And then on top of that, with Sav being mean to me in the show and her not being mean whatsoever in real life, it was just really hard to compose myself. And just little comments I could not deal with.
I feel like if I was in that, the scene after All Eyes on Me when Carrie's like, "Ooh, isn't it past your bedtime?" I feel like that scene I would have not been able. I would be like, "Can you take me out of this scene? I can't."
It was so difficult, and a lot of the time with my eyeline, it would have to be like directly on Charlie, Owen, or Jeremy. And oh my gosh, when Jer shakes his butt after make him say wow, my eyeline was exactly there. And then the boys would do stuff to try to make us laugh. And I'm like, guys, you were not helping whatsoever. And they're like, but it's funny. Like,
All right, I think like the last question before we wrap up is, we know you're a lover of food. We know you love your food. So from all the traveling that you've gone to do from, either Canada or, you just went to Hawaii, any other place you've traveled to, what's your favorite thing you've tried?
Favorite with anything is really hard for me because I'm such a lover of a lot of things, especially food. It's like trying to choose your favorite kid. I can't do that. I can't. Okay, I have a food list that I keep in my phone
I love that.
Of course you have.
of all the places
Of
that
course you have.
Please.
Where is it? I haven't traveled in a while, so that's why I
Well,
have enough.
yes. COVID said not this year. Maybe save some money and make food at home instead.
Right? Right. I mean, luckily my dad is somebody who cooks a lot and cooks a lot of different things from different cultures. And he's always like, try this, try that, even if you're hungry. I mean, even if you're full and not even hungry. So that's that. But this list is kind of long. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna read it all to you guys if you have time.
Let's do it.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All the time in the
In
world.
San Diego, my very, very like number one favorite place ever. I think it's mostly, yes, the food is insanely amazing, but the people there they're like family. Like they're this Italian restaurant. They have like a couple like locations now in San Diego, but it's Italian run and own. Their food. Oh, I might go there today. It's called Buona Forchetta. They have the best pizza and pasta and everything. Like the one in Coronado has this Italian market in it, and they bring in like salamis and meats and cheeses from Italy, and the atmosphere is so cute. Everyone just go look them up, please. And if you go to San Diego, let me know and I'll like come with you. Honestly, I could eat Buona
I
Forchetta
will.
Once COVID is done,
So we'll
A
be there.
food tour?
15 hours.
Oh,
I will drive
15
12
hours, I'll be
hours
there.
for you,
I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. Crushed is great bar food. Liberty Station has a whole lot of everything. They have like little, not booths, but it's like a market, and they have a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
TJ Oyster Bar is one of my favorite Mexican surf and turf places. Tacos El Gordo is great Mexican tacos. Ironside has great seafood and steak. The Henry's like this cute little, it's very LA with like their healthy options, and then they also have really good it's like kind of everything. Vero Gelato, oh my god, don't even get me started on their gelato. It's so freaking good. Anyways, Haru Mama in La Jolla has really good sushi and bao buns, and they have these like themed dessert buns, and my favorite is this panda one, which is taro and vanilla. Oh, yum. What else? Okay,
I'm
in
getting
LA.
so hungry.
Okay, LA is kind of a lot. Top faves are Sweet Green. They're like salads and bowls.
Oh, I love Sweet Green. They have them here in Chicago. Ooh, there's one like down the street from my office where I work. Ooh, I love their, I don't know if you had their like chicken pesto parm is my favorite.
Oh my god, same. Okay, but I
So
do
good.
no tomatoes. I add cilantro and I substitute the chicken for steelhead.
Ooh,
It's
so.
I had it. I don't even know how long ago I had it.
I had it like this past week. Oh, so good.
Oh, okay. Tessie's is a really good Italian place. McConnell's is my favorite ice cream in the whole entire world. My favorite flavor is this double peanut butter chip, and like it's dark chocolate crunchy chip bits with this like salty peanut butter, and in vanilla ice cream.
Oh.
I don't do dairy anymore because it's bad for my skin and my vocal cords, but I would eat that in a heartbeat.
Well, I'll eat it for you. It's okay.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Felix is a good Italian place. BBCM is, they have the best eggs Benedicts ever. They have it on these like southern honey biscuits with pork belly on top of it and this amazing hollandaise. I don't even know what's so special about it, but it's insane.
As you
Once
should.
I get all this like acting and writing and directing and producing out of the way, I would love to just travel and talk about food. And I had this idea of doing maybe the two international languages are food and dance. Everybody eats and everybody has some sort of dance and movement in their life. And so it'd be fun to travel down and eat with someone because I feel like that's the most intimate way to get to know someone. And then do like a dance movement exchange or something like that.
That's so
That's
cool.
I'll teach you how to polka.
So cool.
Well, Tori,
Oh my
when
god,
you're-
please, that'd be fun.
Taylor, when did you know how to do that?
My dance class that I had to take in college.
Was polka of all
You
things?
never told us.
Sorry.
That's
So
super
disrespectful.
sick. I'll polka with you.
All right. See you in a couple weeks.
Okay, wait. Let me just shoot these out. Stout, amazing burgers. Churronis, Italian. Okay, I guess I have a lot of Italian here.
You love- yeah, I was gonna say.
That's all right.
I love Italian food. Bread and pasta and all carbs are the best. St. Anne's is a cute brunch place. Sunset Thai is the best Thai place that I've ever been to. What else? Rubies and Diamonds is a cute coffee place. In Florida, in St. Petersburg, so this place called Ceviche Tapas St. Pete has this beautiful churro ice cream. Absolutely unreal. In Boca Raton, there's this place called Wariki, I think. It's Peruvian. Phenomenal. There's this place called Patio, which has great tapas. In Vancouver, I talk about Social Corner all the time. Social Corner is my number one favorite place. They just opened up a new location, which is more like fine dining. It's gorgeous. I haven't been there yet, but I'm really wanting to. And I've been like, I follow them on Instagram and always talk to the owner about it. And they're like, honestly, we should just send you some food. I'm like, I feel like that wouldn't be the same. But I'm craving it so much at this point that I think it's fine. There's this place called Octopus Garden, which is really, really, really yummy sushi. And they have this mochi strawberry dessert. Oh, so good. So it's like the outer layer is mochi with this red bean filling and then like a fresh strawberry in the inside. Phenomenal. Heirloom is a great vegan option place. Rodney's Oysters is bomb. Cardam's Donuts, they made a donut cake for me for my birthday. It was like this big. So good. They have this Earl Grey donut and this smoked maple walnut donut. And have you had like maple bacon donuts?
Yeah.
Right.
All the time.
So it's kind of like that, but like with walnuts that kind of taste like bacon, if that makes sense.
Oh.
I don't know. If you don't eat meat,
Yes.
then like perfect for you. In Toronto, there's this place called Patois. It's like a Jamaican, Asian, Caribbean fusion restaurant that has the best fried chicken I've ever had. Like, oh,
Go check it
it's
out.
so-
Hannah.
I live in
Check it
Toronto
out.
and I've never heard of that
Hannah,
place.
go. Hannah, go.
Go.
they
Please
have
go
this,
now.
They have this option where you can like try everything on their menu. It's a lot. but I promise you it's so worth it because
Or is
it's
it
so good. But if you go, you just have to have their fried chicken. It's
okay,
like
deal.
the perfect amount of crispy, but like thin skin. It's like, I don't know, it's like eating potato chips on the outside of your chicken, and then the flavor is so
I don't know.
full, and I'm like making myself hungry right now.
I know,
And
me too.
the meat is so tender and juicy. Oh, and they have this like great dipping. Okay, I need to stop talking about it, or else I'm gonna cry. Anybody in Montreal? Anybody?
I just went there.
Hannah's the only Canadian.
I just went there
I'm
so
the only
fast.
Canadian in this.
We love that. We love that. I'm not even Canadian, but I act like it, so it's fine.
It's fine.
Fine. Okay, there's a place called Love, LOV.
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Love is great. Lots of phenomenal vegan, vegetarian options. There's this place called Kampai Garden. It's an Asian fusion. They kind of have like a bar-ish section. It's like a Joey's, but Asian fusion and
Okay.
a little bit elevated. They have really good black bean noodles.
I'm just gonna see if all of these delivered to where I live now at this point.
Honestly, you should. There's this place called Pullman Bar. It's like a wine bar,
Okay.
but they have the best chocolate truffles. Like, you bite into it and it melts in your mouth, and I'm a sucker for dark chocolate. Oh, so good. Okay, last place, Maui. Since
Yes.
we went there real quick. Humble Market Kitchen, bomb. The person, Roy hold on, let me make sure I get his name right.
I feel like in a post-COVID world where it's possible for all of us to dine out together, we need a mukbang episode.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Tori, you're welcome to
There's
join.
There's nothing better than talking and eating with people. Literally nothing better.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that when you sit down and talk with someone, yes, okay, you're connecting, whatever, but if you have a meal with someone, it's a whole nother level of connection and experience, whether you want it or not. Say two people that are divorced agree to a meal together. They have this experience that, not that they didn't want it, but they have it and are bonded over it. And you're not just sitting there with a plate and food. You're sitting there with what you went through throughout the day and this conversation that goes with it. And there's this level of breaking bread and understanding. I don't know. Food is just magical, and I'm really hungry right now.
I am so hungry now too.
I just say I want someone to talk about me the way, like with the passion that Tori talks about food. Don't settle for less. Don't settle for less.
Period.
If someone doesn't talk about you with that much passion,
I don't want it.
I don't want
I
it.
don't want it.
I don't want it.
No, I think I'd have to marry somebody who loves food as much as I do.
Deal breaker.
Yeah.
Big deal breaker.
What if they're
Big
like,
deal
"Oh,
breaker.
I don't like it," and you're just like, "Well, I don't like you anymore." Sorry.
Okay, it might be a good thing if they don't, because then I wouldn't be eating so much. Not
Like balance each
unhealthy.
other out.
Yeah, balance each other out, because I mean, my love for food, I blame my dad because he loves food so much. And maybe it'd be good to like step away from that.
Maybe you just need someone who's willing to try new foods with you.
Yes,
Like new meals, new
That's all I
restaurants, that's all.
that is all I ask. We can, as long, my grandma would always say, you have to try it 11 times before you decide you don't like it. So if somebody's down for that, sick. We love that. We love to hear it. Okay, but the restaurant's owned by Roy Yamaguchi and Chef Gordon. It's so good. Their lamb and dumplings, chef's kiss. Foodland, great poke. Ulani's shaved ice, phenomenal. Lineage is a really cute place, and yeah, I think that's it.
So what I'm
So
hearing is once COVID's over, I need to book a
Road
flight to
trip.
Hawaii,
A
and
food tour.
try out. Yeah, we'll pick
oh my
everyone
god,
away.
I just had a talk with my cousin the other night. Sorry, this is like kind of tangent.
No, go for
But
it.
we were wondering why people stopped whipping, and I want to start it up again, but as
We'll support you.
Tori,
but like not just like, hey, we're cool, whatever, but like, oh, let's go kind of thing. Or you think of something really embarrassing that you did like 5 years ago, you know, that like cringe moment when you just like bring that up in your brain and you're like, okay, I'm gonna grab off right now.
I'm out.
Wait,
It's the swerve out of the lane. Swerve
Yeah.
out.
You say that now, but I'm the type of person like when someone says something or like does something, it just like gets ingrained in my brain and I just like
We're
start taking
gonna
on other people's
start
habits.
you.
I can guarantee you after this, I'm gonna say honestly like all the time. And now I'm gonna start doing this unironically all the time.
You're gonna get him.
Unironically.
We're just gonna have you. You're gonna live more rent free in our minds.
Live in my
Great,
head.
great. We're starting this up again. We're starting to whip, but not in a cool way. But I guess it's kind of in a cool way. I don't
In
know.
an unironic way, yes.
Bye.
I'll just
Gotta
do a
go.
TikTok and I'll just be like, gotta go, bye.
Okay, bye.
I was thinking of doing a TikTok. I don't do a lot on TikTok, and I still kind of don't get it. But I was thinking of doing a TikTok, but instead of put a finger down, whip if you ever.
No. Yeah.
Please.
So
I will
funny.
be the first to duet it. I will duet it.
Right
I'll do
during
it
the
with you.
movie.
Perfect.
Yes, it's been. This was supposed to be an hour long. We're nearing 2 hours.
Oh my god, I always do this. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not all. We love it. We're so grateful to have like your time and all like hearing all of your insightful like thoughts and words. We really appreciate it. This has been such a really fun and engaging time. Thank you so much again for coming on our show. We hope that everyone watching has learned something from all the amazing advice and like thoughts and wisdom that Tori has shared. And of course, keep streaming the show, keep telling your friends, and
Your friends.
thank you all for watching.
And that's girl stuff.